Hey everyone, my name is Tyler Strahan and I'm with the Office of Admissions at FranU, and I'm here at our School of Health Professions where we're going to be able to show you some amazing things that we have going on our campus, especially whenever it comes to healthcare education. So let's go on inside and check it out. So the School of Health Professions is home to all of our students here at FranU who have been accepted into their clinical programs. So this is where they learn the skills needed to be the practitioners that they wish to be. And a part of healthcare education is simulation. And so it's giving the students the ability to practice real life scenarios in a safe environment. So as I mentioned earlier, simulation provides our students an opportunity to practice their clinical skills in a safe work environment. So it removes the threat of making mistakes and there end up being negative consequences for those mistakes. So what does simulation look like at FranU? Well, it starts out here in the debriefing room. So let's go in and check it out. So this is the debriefing room. The debriefing room is where all the learning happens. This is where students begin and end a simulation for that time. So at the beginning, they learn about what it is they need to know before going in to see their patient. But at the end, they come in and evaluate and debrief. They talk about what went wrong, what went right, and what are those opportunities for growth. And here at FranU, we do a lot of peer-to-peer assessment. And so our students, if they're not participating in the simulation at that time, they're actually able to see and hear what's going on as it's happening by the use of the television screen that you see right next to me. So it's really conducive for a lot of engagement, so that way they're getting the best possible learning and patient outcomes whenever they're here in that safe environment. So here at SETH, we actually have a team of licensed practitioners who come from various disciplines whose sole job is to work with simulation. So they work with our faculty, their own personal experiences, and their content knowledge to come up with as real scenarios as possible, so that way our clinical students are best prepared for the real world. And so now we're going to be able to show you some examples of what our simulated hospital looks like. And so right here we have our clinic exam room, which is used for our general family medicine. But what's really cool about this room is right here in the corner is the telemedicine cart. So telemedicine is the future of healthcare. It gives practitioners the ability to assess and diagnose using telemedicine from far distances. And so our family nurse practitioners and our physician assistants are actually the ones who mostly use telemedicine, but we're really fortunate to have it here on our campus available in a simulated environment. So in the simulated environment teaching hospital, this is home to what's called our high fidelity mannequins. So these mannequins can pretty much perform any human function that you can think of. Again, they're not real, so there's no fatality whenever any of our students make mistakes. So the first room that we're walking into right now is our pediatric suite. This is Sim Jr. He is our pediatric mannequin. And so Sim Jr. can do, again, a lot of the basic human functions that real people can. So they can talk to you, they can breathe, they can blink, they can react. We can put fake blood through them so they can have blood flow, they can check heart rates, lung sounds, anything like that to make sure that they can practice and go work towards good patient outcomes. Now, a part of simulation is not just learning how to treat the patient, but also working with the equipment. So all of the equipment that you're going to see in the rooms that we're going to show you today is actually verbatim to the hospital. So that way, the only thing that's different from here to there is that they're working with a real person. So welcome to our intensive care unit. This is Hal. He's one of our other high fidelity mannequins. And so the nature of an ICU, you have a lot more intense and also more invasive type of scenarios that's done here. And so as you can see right here in his neck, we actually have a space where if they needed to do a tracheotomy, that's something that they can do with this mannequin. You can also see right here in the arm, there's an IV inserted, so they have the ability to not only insert fluids, but they can also draw blood as well. Now again, an ICU is more intense type of scenario, so something that we can also do is have a patient that comes in that may have been in a car accident or something of that nature where the leg was severed, and so we actually have a severed leg. And so this is a mechanism that we can attach to the mannequin, and right here they have these red pipes that are actually connected to pockets within the mechanism where blood can actually spew out. So what we do here is called moulage. Moulage is actually makeup or fluids that mimic what the real thing is. And so it looks like the real thing, acts like the real thing, and also feels like the real thing as well. Now, again, part of simulation is providing a realistic scenario. And so right here, we actually have our equipment cart that would typically be outside of the room if you needed to leave the room, say for a code situation, and you needed some sort of type of material. Now, one thing at FranU that we do very uniquely is we focus on the details. So much so that everything is kept in its original packaging. And so what our students have to learn is in a code situation where you have a matter of seconds, there's a lot of pressure to make sure you can save the life that you are maintaining. You will need to make sure to know how to open it up and put it together in an effective manner so that way you can get there whenever you need to. And so we focus on the details and we provide our students very pressured, very intense scenarios so that way they can learn what that pressure looks like before going into the real thing. So here in SETH, we also have included mental health, which is a very important part of healthcare. And so we actually have nurse practitioners who come in who focus on mental health and come up with scenarios for our nurses especially to come and practice in that safe environment. Now, one thing that I had mentioned earlier is our goal that the only difference from here to there is that you're working with a real person. Where here at SETH, we actually have something called a standardized patient program, where it's volunteers from the community who come and act as the role of the patient. So what does that benefit? It benefits our students to actually engage with patients who they don't know when they're meeting for the first time and gets them out of that comfort zone. And so they're really prepared going into the real thing whenever they're having to provide good patient outcomes for those that they interact with. So welcome to our birthing suite. This is actually one of the most popular rooms whenever we have guests come and visit campus. This is Victoria, she is our birthing mom, and she can actually simulate birth. And right here is actually an example of what the baby looks like that's inserted into the mother's womb. And anything that goes into a birth, we can simulate. Everything good, everything not so pretty about a birth, we can do. So fluids, contractions, anything we can do. So all the monitors that you see behind me, again, is actual equipment that you would experience in an actual birthing suite. And so all of our nurses and our doctors can look at contractions, heart sounds, anything to make sure that mom and the baby are healthy. Now, anything postpartum that may happen, we have all the NICU equipment lined against the wall right here. And this is actually the mannequin baby that has the technology within it to react. So anything that our nurses would have to check once the baby is born, he or she can do depending on the gender. So lung sounds, oxygen levels, coughing, mucus in the lungs, anything that our nurses would have to attend to, we can do. So right now we're in our med-surg unit, and this is Manny, and he's actually very new to the SETH family. We got him back in the fall, and so that's just to showcase how we're always looking for the next best thing whenever it comes to simulation technology. And so the practicality of simulation is that it's everywhere. It's very common to have universities and colleges across the country that perform simulation activities for their clinical students. So what makes FranU different? Because we have a niche in healthcare, which makes up about 80% of our student population, we actually have an emphasis in interprofessional collaboration. So what does that benefit? That gives our students an opportunity to actually work with disciplines outside their own. So they're able to actually be exposed to the reality of working in the healthcare industry, learning how to effectively communicate, but also learning where their scope of practice begins and ends. Because if you have a patient that goes into a code, you're going to need that collaborative effort to make sure that you have good patient outcomes. And we cover that here in SETH. And the way that we do that is one of our major examples is our yearly disaster simulation, where we invite members of the community to come together and actually expose our students to what it's like whenever you have an influx of patients coming in at the same time due to a community disaster. So in addition to the rooms that we showed you today, we also have an emergency room, a space for respiratory therapy simulation, as well as 2 fully energized digital radiologic technology labs. So we thank you for joining us on this brief tour of our simulated environment teaching hospital, and we welcome anyone to come and see the awesome things that we have going on our campus, especially in healthcare education. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you at FranU.